welcome back to our channel, and if you're new here, my name is Maddie, this is my boyfriend Jordan, and we have been creating travel videos mostly about Mexico. Oh, it's a mosquito. I got it. For about 2 years now, going on 2 years. We often get asked questions about the safety and dangers of Mexico, so do you want to talk about what we're going to be talking about today?
Yeah, so 9 out of 10 times when we tell people we're living in Mexico, they're like, well, isn't it dangerous there? And if you grow up in the US like we did, from social media, from the news, from the regular media, you have this perception of Mexico that if you come here, you're going to be dealing with cartels on a daily basis. There's going to be piles of bodies. If you step out of the resort, you're probably going to end up dead within a month. And so we wanted to make this video about what the real dangers are of living here, because there are dangers. Don't get me wrong, there absolutely are.
Just might not be what you think.
Yeah.
So first and foremost, this video is in real danger of getting rained on, so hopefully that doesn't happen. We're going to try to get through this list we have.
That is not one of the dangers on the list, though.
It's not. What's the first one, though?
It has to do with rain, because we live right here where we're at. We're in the rainforest. And Mexico has all sorts of climates, every climate you could imagine throughout the country. But where we happen to live right now in Puerto Morelos, it is the rainforest.
Which is not a climate. It's...
whatever, rainy is the climate. But with that comes tons of mosquitoes. So you might be thinking, big deal, mosquitoes, whatever. Well, they kill more people than any other creature on Earth. And dengue fever is a real thing here. Fever.
Dengue fever.
Dengue fever. Yes. Quite a few people get it, and fortunately we haven't yet. We do try to protect ourselves with...
By the grace of God, I've gotten bit so many times by mosquitoes, it's not even funny. So seriously, by the miracles of the heavens, I've not gotten dengue, but I feel like of the two of us, I will be reporting back to you guys at some point. Hopefully not.
I mean, just today, I read in a Facebook group, someone saying they got dengue fever in August. It was the worst they've ever had it. Yes, they've had it multiple times. And after a month, they start going blind in one eye, and the doctor said that's going to be permanent. So yeah, that's scary, and
it is a real danger in certain parts of the country. And speaking of mosquitoes, that brings us to our next real danger. Stepping in mud. No, that's not it. But it's been really rainy, and
we're gonna have like 5 fake dangers by the time this video is over.
It's not a real one unless you're clumsy like me and you're not looking when you're walking. But speaking of mosquitoes, the next real danger is bugs, like actual bugs that can bite you in the wild, and also stomach bugs. So I would say the food in Mexico, once your body can adapt to the different bacteria and the new organisms that are here, I'd say the food is relatively safe, and you're probably not going to get many stomach bugs from just eating stuff on a day-to-day basis. But there is still the possibility of getting a stomach bug because your body's not used to all that, or parasites, which Jordan...
Yeah, I've actually had all sorts of kind of deals with bugs. Number one, first coming to Mexico, first month I was here, I got a stomach bug 3 different times. So that's just like sick to the stomach. They call it Montezuma's revenge here. And then I got stung by a scorpion at one point on the neck. And then at another time, I tested positive for parasites. So I've had the gamut of them.
And by the way, we can't for sure say that Jordan got these parasites within Mexico. Parasites can live in the body for years and years and years, all the while going undetected and sometimes not being symptomatic, like so bad that you need to go to the doctor. So it's possible that's from somewhere else, but just like anywhere in the world, you can get parasites here in Mexico too. And of course, there's scorpions all over the place. We saw the first one which stung Jordan. That was in Tapalpa, Jalisco.
No, we had them before that. We were living in
Ajijic,
Ajijic. We kept finding scorpions in our house. We had black widows in our yard. Yeah, there's some scary bugs here. And then Mahawal. Oh my gosh.
The huge scorpion, huge scary bugs, and then on our way
centipede.
out, oh yeah, giant centipede, and you saw a snake on our way out. We're like, get us out of here! This place is too filled with bugs. On the beach side, there's one of these, and on the Colonia side, there's one of these in like the main plaza square, but there's also one here too. Okay.
What is it? Oh, we just turned this to rated R.
There's actually stairs right there.
I didn't know that.
El Centro! Very hungry.
This is a big one.
It is.
Look at all this space. I could do laps. They actually have workouts in here pretty often. Boxing, and then others. Hey, do you see this?
The real dangers. The next real danger in Mexico is the sun. We've mentioned this in quite a few videos before this, so I'm not going to harp on this too long, but essentially the sun is very strong in some parts of Mexico. I think in most parts of Mexico. I'm from Phoenix, Arizona, the Valley of the Sun, so I thought I knew how long I could be outside without getting burned. It's totally different here in Mexico. It's stronger, more intense, more easy for you to get sunburnt, so that's a very real danger that I've been caught in the trap of many times, gotten burned.
And that's whether you're here in the Riviera Maya, where it's a hotter climate, or you go into the highlands of Mexico, which much of Mexico, probably half of it, is over 5,000 feet in elevation. You're in those higher elevations, the atmosphere is thinner and you get burnt more easily.
The next real danger in Mexico is road conditions. Before we started driving through Mexico, and at this point we've basically driven through the entire country, we were told we needed four-wheel drive. It was an absolute must because the roads were terrible in some places. So I, honest to goodness, thought Mexico was just gonna be filled with like dirt roads, like maybe like dirt or gravel roads the entire way. That's not the case. However, road conditions are still a big concern because in some places potholes are huge and the roads don't always get the regular maintenance, and so that's a huge concern. Also topes, which are speed bumps. Much of the time they are unmarked, so you won't be able to see them. You have to really look ahead in the road and keep your eyes peeled. Ideally have someone in the passenger seat, or vice versa, that's not driving to be a tope spotter. Jordan has saved our car so many times by being a tope spotter.
Yeah, as for road conditions though, driving between cities, they're generally pretty good, especially since we stay on the toll roads typically.
And yes, do pay the tolls, stay on the toll roads, it's safer.
But more often you'll see poor road conditions within towns.
And as far as road conditions go, I don't mean to imply that Mexico necessarily doesn't take care of its roads, but for instance in Puerto Morelos, after a big rain, huge potholes will open up just because the land is so porous and the soil is very fine, so it kind of just creates these tiny sinkholes that suck the road out. So they do repair it pretty frequently, but it still means you have to be on red alert or they'll swallow your car up and you'll be facing potentially an accident or at least some serious damage to your vehicle.
Yeah, just 2 nights ago there was a pothole that opened up that's maybe this big, but I don't know, it looked like that deep. It's serious.
That will literally swallow your tire, so watch out.
You might not consider this the biggest danger in your everyday life, but the fact is a lot of people die in car accidents. And I think one of the biggest dangers in Mexico is getting into cabs, because number one, a lot of them drive really fast and swerve. Yes, a lot of them drive fast and recklessly, and most of them don't have seat belts. So might not seem like a big deal, like cartels are a lot scarier than driving around in a car, but I think that's way more dangerous than what you're going to experience from cartels.
And way more more commonplace.
Yeah, it's an everyday thing.
Along the same lines of driving, road conditions, and drivers is the next real danger, and that's something that we experience on a day-to-day basis, and that's that driving habits in Mexico are a lot different than in anywhere else that I've been. People make the most insane maneuvers. Just the other day we were driving on the street where there's, your typical left turn lane at a light and then 2 other lanes of traffic, while the person in the middle lane, which is a through lane, decided to gun it and cut in front of the person that had the right of way to make a left.
And something like that happens all the time.
All the time. And even this Mexican driver was like you could tell he was pissed, because it's just bonehead moves like this happen pretty frequently. And then of course you throw in the crazy cab drivers, which are driving like bats out of hell and weaving in and out of cars all the time. There again, it's a very real danger of getting in a car accident if you're not familiar with the driving habits of others and how to be a defensive driver. So that's a true true danger that you would be facing if you're driving on a daily basis.
Yeah.
If you're not familiar with it, I say don't rent a car, just let the cab drivers take you around. Take a colectivo, take a bus, fly, something like that.
I think there's kind of an organized chaos to it, though. Like this is the driving culture here. So people cut each other off all the time, but it's not some. Getting cut off isn't something people get upset about. In the U.S., people get road rage over that. Here it's just normal, and that's what you do.
Except I would say that that's true in most cities, but I notice road rage like crazy in Mexico City. People are like angry while driving all the time, but in the mosquito.
Really, you thought that?
Yeah, absolutely, and a little bit in Guadalajara
because
too.
I didn't hear much honking when we were in Mexico City. That's why.
I think because there's a law.
Oh.
There's like you can get fined, but I don't know that for sure. Don't quote me on that.
This is one that you hear about a lot, or at least I heard about it a lot before coming to Mexico, and that's crooked cops. My impression of this was that every time you had an interaction with a police officer, they were going to try to get a bribe out of you. I feel like that's the impression people give, because those are the stories you hear. But we've driven all over the country. We've gotten pulled over probably 20 times now, and not a single time anyone has ever tried to get a bribe. Does this happen? Yes, it does. And it's usually when people aren't following the law. So if you're excessively speeding, if you don't have the right paperwork for your car, if it's not in the country legally, things like that, you're probably going to experience that more often. In our case, we've been following the laws. We haven't been speeding. And also, it makes a difference what part of the country you're in. Here around Cancun, Playa del Carmen, this area in the Riviera Maya, it's much more common than it is in most of the country, as it is around Mexico City. So if you're around Mexico City or around this area, much more likely to face that problem. But in our experience, it's way, way, way overblown, and it's not that big of a danger. And is this a danger to your body, to bodily harm? Probably not, but I would consider this more of a financial danger.
In case you're sitting here like, okay, great, so crooked cops aren't something I have to be too concerned about, but what about these areas like the tourist areas, Cancun, Playa del Carmen, etc.? How can you get out of that if a cop is implying that they want something, or if they're saying, I'm giving you a ticket, but I'm not going to write you the ticket, you need to pay it right now? Know what the laws are, know what the rules are. If a cop is sitting there and saying, you need to pay me this right now, I'm not writing you a ticket, that's illegal. They have to write you the ticket, and you can pay it whatever, at the police station, I don't know where, because we've never gotten a ticket before. But if you're in a situation like that, stick to your guns, say that you will not pay them anything in that moment, and also know what you need to have in terms of paperwork, know what the laws and rules of the road are, so that you know if something fishy is going on or whether you were out of line, kind of deal.
And that's that's easier said than done, saying know what the laws are.
Right.
Because can you imagine saying that going to the U.S.? Know what the laws are. Oh,
yeah,
okay.
I don't even think
the list of 100,000 laws. Yeah, right. But we did make a video on what kind of paperwork you need for bringing a car in, and that's probably the most important thing you can do.
Because they're going to ask for that, your temporary vehicle import permit, or if it's nationalized or whatever, you need to have that paperwork if it's a car from outside of the country.
Yeah, so we're going to link to that video right above here.
Something we totally forgot to mention when we were filming this is natural disasters. Wherever you live, you're going to have to deal with some natural disasters in all likelihood. For example, where I grew up in Minnesota, we had blizzards, and then in the summer, sometimes we had tornadoes. Well, in Mexico, it's going to vary depending on the location that you're at. So, for example, in Mexico City, your biggest concern is probably going to be earthquakes. If you live in the volcano belt, your biggest concern is probably going to be volcanoes in terms of natural disasters. Or, if you're where we're at, Puerto Morelos gets hit by a big hurricane about once every 15 years. Another danger we forgot to mention in Mexico is pickpockets and other petty theft like that. So this varies a lot depending on where you're at in the country, and honestly most places that we've been, it hasn't really been a concern for us. There was one time we were in Mazatlan, it was during Carnival, which attracts a whole bunch of people there. People come from all over, and it gets really, really busy. And one time we were walking down the Malecon there, and we thought this guy was following us. When we would stop, he would stop, we'd keep walking, and the same thing would happen. Eventually we just looked at him and made him aware that we were aware of his presence, and then he stopped following us. But what could have happened there? Maybe he was after MADDIE's bag or her purse that she was carrying. That was the last time she ever carried a purse, by the way. She was switched to a backpack after that, and we haven't had that problem since.
So I think with the culture and the rules and regulations of the US, this is one that Mexico greatly differs, and that is a real danger is that safety is your responsibility. So unlike in the US where there's often signage if there's like a hole in the ground or there's construction going on, or regulations for there being railings or yeah, like railings or guardrails and things like that. Here, that's not always the case. I don't think there are the same laws for buildings, having them up to certain codes like there are in the US. So you'll be walking down the sidewalk and there could be just a giant like manhole cover type deal missing, and you could easily just fall into that hole if you're like, for instance, holding a camera up and mostly paying attention to that. So that's why I keep looking down.
Yeah,
because
or
it's
like
a real thing you have to watch out for.
Or on uneven sidewalks that you trip and like sprain your ankle or something like that.
Yeah. Oh, we've also seen staircases like 3, 4, 5, 6 floors up where there's no guardrails. Like you look down, you can just, on the stairs, you could just trip and fall off like 6 flights of stairs. So,
They're probably pretty wide when that's the case, but
it's still, there's not those things. So, I mean, I like this because it's like if you're an idiot, then natural selection kind of just like takes you out.
Oh my
and
gosh.
like as nature intended.
There goes half of our subscribers. I'm not calling you idiots. I'm just saying we're
Hello. Oh my gosh. Look who we just ran into! This is Andy with Timeless Travel Club.
I heard the voice before I saw the faces. So.
Yes, we're just recording a video right now.
I saw that.
But anyway, to wrap that one up, I want to say that I do enjoy this aspect of the culture because we're not like babysitted so much as we are in the US, although it is something that can be a danger if you're not careful, so it's why we're mentioning it.
The next danger in Mexico is the legal system. And what do I mean by that? In the US, it's innocent until proven guilty. Here it's the opposite. So, for example, if you get in a car accident and there's blood, they're taking everyone involved in that accident to jail until they sort out who's at fault and whose financial responsibility it is. And if you're at fault, you're going to have to pay for the injuries of anyone that you injured.
Like in full, pay for it with cash.
Yeah, so that's why it's so important to carry Mexican car insurance, because then your insurance company is going to pay for it instead of you. You're still going to go to jail. It won't be for long though, because you'll be out soon. It's like you prove you have insurance, they let you out. All right, so after coming back from Oaxaca, we're really obsessed with mezcal now. So we came to this place where our friend Andy happened to be, and we sat down. This place is called Blue, and we got a mezcal margarita, and I don't know, I like it. This is really good. What do you think?
Oh, this is a great margarita, and he made it perfectly not too sweet for me, but this does remind us of another real danger in Mexico, and that is coming here on vacation or coming here and indulging or overindulging in the very cheap drinks and getting yourself into trouble by doing something stupid, just getting drunk, and maybe you get in the car and do the dumb thing like drinking and driving, or you're just being a hooligan in the street. But drinking too much can get you in trouble in a lot of ways in Mexico, just like in anywhere else. So that's a real danger you want to watch out for.
Andy, what do you think is one of the biggest dangers in Mexico?
Well, you learn from experience, and it's my experience that we're sitting at a taco stand and they provide you this. And while they all might be excellent, one of them is dangerous. 2 of them are not, for gringos. So it's true. So when they tell you this one, no, if they hesitate a little bit, it's going to be hot.
No muy picante, no, es poco picante. especially if he's wearing his sombrero. Liar!
Don't believe them. So what I normally do is I put a little dab on my plate and taste it with my finger. This one here was magma. So yeah, learn that lesson.
I need to mention this one, but we're just going to do it really quickly, and that's pollution. In some cities, it's worse than others. I think the worst I know about is Mexico City, and that's just because there's so many darn people there.
It's huge. It's a huge city. It's going to vary a lot from city to city, and even within a city from road to road, because there's certain bus paths where you're gonna choke on the pollution a little bit more than other places. Obviously, this is not a unique to Mexico danger, but it is something to consider if you, for instance, have like asthma or lung issues, that it's prevalent in some cities.
So I think this is one of the bigger dangers in Mexico, and this isn't so much a physical danger like you're going to be harmed, but thieves in some areas are really prevalent. Like, we were talking to someone who lived in San Miguel de Allende, and she's had a home invasion 3 times. By the time we were leaving Ajijic, we started hearing about a lot of home invasions there. And these typically aren't violent. They try to do it when you're not home. But
I mean, it's just a robber coming into your place to steal stuff from you. We do also notice that this is typically concentrated in the more tourist-centric cities. So we've even heard about robberies here in Puerto Morelos as well, and I'm sure if we lived in Playa del Carmen or Cancun, we'd probably hear about it there as well. This is obviously something that happens elsewhere in the world, but it is kind of a thing to be aware of because it's something that does happen commonly enough that we've heard it a lot throughout our travels.
although most of the time I don't think you're going to experience personal physical harm here, but something we have heard of happening, and this is really sad, if you have a dog that's outside, they'll sometimes poison meat and throw that over the fence, and then the dog will eat that and die or get really sick. So aside from the financial loss, that's probably your biggest worry. But this is a big deal, so people do take security seriously in Mexico, and they'll often set up security cameras or build their home with a very high wall and maybe even electrical fencing above it. And again, it's more prevalent in some places than others.
Another very real danger, not just in Mexico but everywhere, is online security. And we've mentioned this in previous videos, but we think it's very important to protect yourself from hackers who are trying to steal your bank account information, swipe your passwords, or just get the data that your computer is transmitting essentially by hooking up to Wi-Fi. So what we recommend is getting a VPN, that is a virtual private network, not to get into the nitty-gritty details of it. That protects you for a very low cost. And if you want to check that out, you can just go to tangerinevpn.com, and that'll take you to the one that we recommend the most. So what else is a real danger in Mexico? Well, financial scams, actually. Just like anywhere else in the world, once again, there are things you have to watch out for, people scamming you. A few to consider are when you go to the ATM to take your cash out. If it's a standalone ATM, it's more likely to be tampered with. We talked about something like this in our what not to do when you visit the Riviera Maya.
And we're going to link that right here.
We'll link it above. Another thing is when you go to get your gas, when you have your gas pumped for you, they do that. There are some scams that exist, like you hand them a 500 peso bill. The new 500 peso bills look a whole lot like the 20 peso bills, so switch that out and claim that you only gave them a 20, something like that. So, gracias. So just something to be aware of, that watch your finances, watch how much money you give people and things like that. But once again, we talk about some scams like this in that video.
Yeah, there's a whole bunch we talk about to look out for, so go check that out.
And last but not least, what is another real danger in Mexico? Yes, the cartels represent some danger that you may face, although from our perspective, if you're not buying, selling, asking, or interacting with anything related to drugs, you are probably going to remain out of the line of fire, poor choice of words, of anything cartel related. So we think this is very low on the list of what is a real danger for the average person in Mexico. By no means am I trying to imply that this does not exist in Mexico, because it does. It's just not as prevalent of a danger as the US media makes it out to be.
Something that's been all over the news recently is a family that got killed by the cartel in northern Mexico, and this was not just men, it was an entire family, men, women, children, and this is absolutely a horrendous event, just disgusting. I have to say though, something the media hasn't been saying,
Or at least they're not leading with it in the headlines, so it sort of gives you the wrong idea if you're...
that family, from what we've heard, came from a community that has had bad blood with the cartels and has been fighting against the cartels for like a decade. So once again, sounds like another thing where they were involved in the cartels somehow, in one way or another.
So if you're not trying to face them off, you're not going anti-drug or anti-cartels or whatever.
I think you can be anti-drug, but
yeah, you're right. But I mean, like directly trying to face off with one. Like we even heard of a YouTuber who was like, I'm bigger than this whatever leader.
Yeah, he was calling the cartel leader names, and he's like, he can't do shit to me. He has nothing on me.
Essentially paraphrasing, he was speaking Spanish, but
yeah, and from what we heard, he was dead within an hour. So
that's the type of thing. Like we think it's not that it's not there, but it's just be smart and kind of like don't put your nose into stuff that you shouldn't, and then it's probably not going to be very high up on the list of something that the average person has to worry about.
Thank you guys for watching this video.
Hopefully this helps give you a better idea of what it's actually like life in Mexico. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to subscribe to see other videos that we put out about our life and travels in Mexico.
Yeah, on the end screen here, we're going to link our Binge Watch Everything playlist if you want to see our whole story from the very beginning in Mexico when we were scared of everything.
Yes.
And how we progressed over the last couple of years. We'll have that on the end screen for you to click on and easily watch our videos in order.
Oh, but one more thing. Gong that bell, so you're the first to be notified whenever we put out a new video.
And we'll see you soon.